Consecration, what else do we learn during this stage? We learn hand-to-hand combat, and we need to get good at it. The weapons of our warfare are not worldly, but have divine power to destroy strongholds. There are 6 habits that we're looking to instill during this boot camp phase. And these habits are to be instilled, lived, and then used throughout the rest of our lives. They are, first of all, daily spiritual reading. Secondly, daily personal prayer, setting aside an appointment with God, time for God. If you had an appointment with the president, would you get out of bed on time? And you have an appointment with God, far more important than our president, by a lot. Third, we learn family catechesis. The word catechesis means to echo the truths of the faith. During this phase, it's important for us to, as we're learning the truths of the faith, pick one little thing that we're learning, and then that night, teach it to our children. Pass on one little spiritual truth. We learn family prayer, and we start to instill that habit every day. So we can do that through the rosary, we can do that through rote prayers, but we need to understand and enter into spiritual prayer into family prayer, so that we can arm ourselves spiritually. We are also greatly encouraged to get into the habit of going to Mass as often as you can within your state in life. If you can work daily Mass in, make it a priority. Why? Because we're receiving the Eucharist. We're receiving God who is transforming us into Him. It is the greatest gift of humanity. And it is so amazing and mysterious. We're going to be contemplating that mystery for all eternity. Lastly, a 6th habit that we want you to instill is the use of sacramentals. Sacramentals dispose us to grace, and grace is the answer, so that we want to have the possibility of as much grace in our lives as possible. The Apostolate offers several resources, but 2 in particular that I'm going to highlight. The Total Preparation for Consecration for Families. That's the book that's on the left side. It's an excellent resource. Secondly, Secret of Mary Explained to Children. Secret of Mary Explained to Children. So let me go through a little bit of the total consecration, preparation for total consecration for families. In that booklet, there are several resources. I often will recommend to people that you can launch right into the 40-day preparation for total consecration. But there are some other readings in there that are really helpful that you may want to consider. And some of these actually occur during the 40 days. One of them, there's a section called Secret of Mary. Secret of Mary is well worth the read. So for your personal prayer time, set aside 15 minutes. And if you can't do that, do 5, but go for 15. Commit to it, and then start to read each morning, and just at the end of the 15 minutes, stop and move on. That's okay. But start to read. Secret of Mary is an excellent thing to read. There's another section in there called Catechism on True Devotion, which explains a little bit more about the consecration that you're entering into. As you read these, what happens is it tills the soil of your soul so that you can start to receive the grace, receive the seed, the Word of God, and it'll enter into you more fully. And so the more that the ground is tilled, the deeper that the graces can sink into our lives. Additionally, during that phase, again, we encourage the personal prayer, but we encourage you as you're reading. And so let's say that you do the Secret of Mary, and then you read the Catechism on True Devotion. We encourage you, as you start into the 40 days, to share spiritual insights with your children. Pick one. Or you can just use a picture from the book and show that to your children. Also, during the 40-day phase, we're asking you to start into family prayer. I'll talk in a moment about the family rosary, but also, if your family doesn't have a spirituality, there are some rote prayers that are really good that are actually in the book. We have the prayers on CD available for you. As a family, my family, we didn't have a particular spirituality, and so 9 years ago, we got a copy of, it was a cassette tape at the time, and I put it in, and we listened to it, and we would listen to it every day, and we would start praying it, and it takes about 8 minutes, and we did it as a family, and eventually everybody got the prayers memorized, so we don't play the tape anymore. But what a wonderful gift, because through those prayers, the prayers are actually explaining to us our mission for that day and the responsibility of the present moment, and helping us recenter on repairing the damage caused by sin by faithfully fulfilling our daily duty, faithfully fulfilling the responsibility of each present moment. Okay, Secret of Mary Explained to Children. This is a very misleading title because people look at it and say, well, I'm not a child. Unless you become like a child, you may not enter the kingdom of heaven. If you think that this is below you, you're not low enough yet. Secret of Mary Explained to Children. I had done the consecration for 3 years in a row, and I got this wild-eyed idea that I was going to stand up in front of people and tell them how wonderful consecration was. I totally went into darkness, and I thought, I can't do it. I don't know that I understand this fully. And so I spoke to the oracle of wisdom, my wife. And I said, honey, I was like, how am I going to explain consecration? I could talk about sin. I know all about sin, but how am I going to explain consecration? And she pulled up Secret of Mary Explained to Children. She said, here, this is how I teach it to the kids. So I got that book, and I read it in one sitting, all 50 pages. And what it does is it explains consecration in a way that's intellectually accessible to your children's intellect. And by the way, I learned so much from that, it actually was intellectually accessible to my intellect. And I was able to then understand better the consecration. This book is a phenomenal resource. I recommend that you go through it with your children. And you'll say, wow, that's amazing. And your kids will understand it at one level, and you'll begin to understand it at another level. That's a wonderful way to start into family catechesis.